Wasteland Firebird. Today we're at the Petersen Museum. It's kind of fancy here.
I'm Wasteland Firebird. We're in Los Angeles, California. We're on our way to one of the two best car museums in the country. One of the best car museums in the country is the Lane Museum in Nashville. They have all kinds of weird cars from all over the world. It's the weirdest car museum I've ever seen. Today, we're on our way to the Petersen Museum. It's the fanciest car museum I've ever seen. Starsky and Hutch. Right before I came to Australia, I bought the entire DVD set of Starsky and Hutch, and I watched all of them. And I was too young to watch it as a kid. I wasn't allowed to watch it. It was too gritty. At least the first couple seasons are really gritty. I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid, so it's not even something that I have a memory of seeing. It's something I have a memory of wanting to see. And so finally, when I became an adult, it occurred to me, I'd never seen Starsky and Hutch, the TV show. And so I love it. It's like one of my favorite TV shows. It's so good. So Back to the Future car. This actual car was in all three of the movies. There's a lot of replicas out there. I mean, this is a real movie car. And it doesn't even matter which one's your favorite movie. It was in all three. So Eleanor, this car, is from the 2000 version of the film Gone in 60 Seconds. It's kind of funny they leave it out like this. It seems like someone might want to just like, you know, stealing a car out of the Petersen would be the ultimate heist. I do have something to say about this Batmobile. I hate most Batmobiles. I hate this one. But these films were really, really good. The 80s Batman films were really, really good. And so I give it a pass. This is from the new Ghostbusters movie. You can see the fake movie patina on it. So it's easy to comment on cars when you're in a museum. This is the 2019 Runge RS010. It was commissioned by a Chicago enthusiast and hand-built by Christopher Runge in his Minnesota facility. I had that all in my head. This thing here. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Cars from this period were all beautiful. It doesn't even matter what country they were made. It doesn't matter what brand it is. 1959 Scimitar. There were only 3 ever built. Person included for scale. 1953 Bosley GT Mark I. It's the only car in the world that looks the same when shot with an 8mm lens as it does when shot with a 15mm lens. Renault Alpine. Oh, this is just so beautiful. And the new ones are almost as beautiful too. Yeah, the problem with these 70s concept cars is real 70s cars looked better than 70s concept cars. They actually did the cool cars for real in the 70s. They did such amazing cars in the 70s that they couldn't come up with anything better. Okay, I have one piece of advice for every investor, car collector in the world. I don't normally presume to tell people what to invest in or what's going to go up in value. Nobody knows, but I would be willing to bet if I had $80,000 that this would go up in value. De Tomaso Panteras can still be had for something in the area of $80,000, at least under $100,000. And look at this thing. It's an American but Italian-styled Ferrari. It's just as good as any European supercar. It's just as beautiful and fast and amazing, and they're so cheap right now. Electric, electric, electric. Oh, I really shouldn't be like dismissing this. These are good electric cars. Look at this. This is cool. So, I mean, we'd all be excited about electric cars if they look like this. The new electric DeLorean concept. This is what we call vaporware. It's something that everyone wants, and they say they're going to give us, but it's never going to happen. Myers-Manx prototype electric. It's kind of defeats the entire purpose of a dune buggy, the entire concept, because this is all custom made in this form. It's not like some Volkswagen chassis that's been modified or anything like that. But I have to admit, this is gorgeous, and I would love to have it. It's not really in keeping with the spirit of the original dune buggy at all. The idea of a dune buggy is to be fast and light and simple and practical, and this is like complicated and heavy. Turns out I have a lot to say about electric cars. The EV one. Who killed the electric car? Everybody made it out to be this grand conspiracy with the oil companies and the big car makers, and they just didn't want them to succeed. Well, if they didn't want them to succeed, why did they try building it in the first place? Why didn't they just say, why don't we keep things as they are? But no, they said, let's try to build an electric car. Let's see if people buy it. Nobody bought it. Nobody wanted it. Maybe it wasn't that good. But eventually they did make electric cars, and people are buying them, and people love them. So nobody killed the electric cars. The electric car is now with us. No, just the yellow one. Just the yellow. I was thinking just the yellow one. Oh, but look at that one too, though. That's pretty crazy. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, we're talking about every electric car in this place. I guess I got to give them some credit. They found some wild electric cars. 1960 electric shopper. It's a golf cart. Let's move on now. The Petersen Museum was founded by the guy who founded Hot Rod Magazine. And if you're from Australia and you haven't heard of Hot Rod Magazine, well, you know, there's magazines that are about cars that we test drive and they come from the factory. And then there are magazines about modifying cars. Well, that was Hot Rod Magazine back in the day. That was the magazine for that. And I remember reading it for as long as I've been alive. As I've mentioned before, I don't really work on cars. I love cars. I love to drive cars. I see myself more as a curator of cars. I don't so much really want to modify my cars. I either want to buy a car that I like, just how it comes from the factory, or maybe buy a car that someone else has modified. And that's one thing that I've always wanted to own, I never have. It's just some sort of hot rod that's sort of been perfected by someone else's vision, but someone whose vision I agree with. Hypercars. This is the kind of car I've never wanted to own. I want to be able to drive the heck out of my cars. I don't want to have a car that I can't drive.
Can you explain to us what a hypercar is?
It's because they used to make things called supercars, and then the cars just blew those away so excessively that they had to come up with a new name. This hole here is for the purposes of I don't know what, and I don't really care. I am being drawn to this corner of the room. I might make fun of hypercars, but I'm being as though a magnet is pulling me. Purple carbon fiber.
Yeah.
I've never seen purple carbon fiber before. Hispano Suiza. That's a brand I haven't heard from in 100 years. So in 2019, they revived the company and they built this thing. They've come a long way. So if you view these as works of art, they are beautiful. And if you also add in the fact that you can theoretically drive them, that is pretty amazing too. And then if you add in the fact that they're extremely high-performing cars, you got to give them credit for that. Okay, maybe I've been converted. I like hypercars. They're awesome. Oh look, there's a brown one over there. I think we need to make more hypercars in ugly 70s colors. You may have heard of the low-res car. Well, this is a low-res motorcycle. It's called the Moto Undone, a mobile magic mirror on which the rider looks vulnerably organic. Take a look at how vulnerably organic he looks. Oh look, there's another square motorbike. Look, what is it with these square, blocky cars? I think the Petersen has like 3 of these. They have like 2 cars and 1 motorbike. Like one's a triangle, one's a square, that one's a square. These are dumb. I'm actually not too much into race cars. I mostly like cars that could be driven on the road. Here's the McLaren 1969 M6 GT. They estimate that only 3 were built. You think with the number being 3, they could come up with a better estimate. Was it 3.1? Was it 2.9? This is supposed to be a Hot Wheels track, and this is a life-size Hot Wheels car. Now, my problem with that is that life-size Hot Wheels cars already exist. They're called cars. 3D bot maker, you've got nothing on Wasteland Firebird. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
No one survived.
At the James Bond exhibit at the Petersen, there's lots of actual cars that were in actual movies. There's one problem with all this in my mind, and that is that there's only one good James Bond movie. So we'll save that one for last. Not this one. Not this one. Definitely not this one. Not this one. Nah, not this one. Nope. No. No. This is a gorgeous car. I love these. It's like England's Mustang. It's better looking than a Mustang, but not this movie either. Okay, we're getting a little warmer now. Getting a little warmer. That was pretty good. Okay, this is very cool, but no, not this one either. That's a cool car too. No, not that one. A car like this was the first car ever to do a barrel roll jump in a movie. But aside from that, the movie's not that great. We're getting very close now. This movie had a lot of elements that could have been good. The Spy Who Loved Me. But when you watch it, they're just not quite that good. They didn't quite feel that well realized and fleshed out, and they just weren't that compelling. So they reused a bunch of elements, it's true, in a later movie, but the thing is they got it right when they reused the elements, and they made a much better movie. Bingo! For Your Eyes Only. It's the only great James Bond film. The rest are merely good. This movie is emotionally compelling. It is funny at times, but it's also one of the most terrifying films I've ever seen, especially when you're 10 years old. The underwater scene where the giant guy in the suit is coming at him with his like claws. I'm terrified of drowning to this day because of that film. And when they find the guys in the spy boat and they're like floating in the water, handcuffed to their stations, like I don't even like to swim. If I'm ever offered the position of secret agent, I will turn them down. This is clearly the most boring car in the room, but it is from the movie that is the best in the series. So then you might wonder, well, what other cars could we pick from that film? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. There are two Lotus Esprits. There's a white one and then a brown one with gold stripes. And actually they were the same cars, they just repainted them. But as a kid, I wanted the brown Lotus Esprit Turbo with gold stripes. And there is a shot of Roger Moore standing in front of that car, and it's a publicity shot, and I've made that one into a t-shirt. So the next question is, well, Wasteland Firebird, maybe you could have some money someday and maybe you could buy one of these cars. It's important to know where the car is and if it comes up for sale. And the car is in the Deezer Museum in Florida, along with the only remaining Mad Max Interceptor. Supposedly all the cars are for sale, though they won't tell you what the price is. So I think if you ask what the price is, they don't even bother to answer you. But if you offer them something in the millions of dollars, they might actually respond to your email. I have yet to visit this Deezer Museum, this mythical Deezer Museum, but I occasionally see photos from there, so I think it does exist. So that will be a future goal, is to get down to Florida and check out this Deezer Museum that has the Mad Max car and the brown Lotus from For Your Eyes Only. Andy Warhol liked cars a little bit. About as much as he liked Campbell's soup, at least. This is my kind of Mercedes. We're at the Myers-Manx Cafe in the Petersen Museum. This has only just reopened 3 weeks ago. You can put metal flake paint on any car, but there is one car where if you own it, you have to put metal flake paint on it. It's pretty much a legal requirement. Myers-Manx, famous dune buggy, the most famous dune buggy of all time. So we're headed down into the Petersen vault, and you're not really supposed to take any video down here. You're not really supposed to take photos down here, but they kind of loosened it up a little bit. So we'll see if we get kicked out or something. So they used to only do guided tours down in the vault, and now they do a self-guided tour. And it's much better because you can just kind of wander around. And the problem with the guided tour is that sometimes the stories they tell about the cars are boring. And I don't think any story about a car is boring. I think it's really just in how you tell the story. But you end up spending 90 minutes down here, and sometimes you're forced to look at cars you don't really care about. But with a self-guided tour, you can just look at all the craziness and just go towards whatever attracts your eye. So it's a lot better. And they're actually secretly, maybe sometimes, letting you take photos down here. This is a DeLorean that has been plated with real gold. This was created for an American Express promotion. They made 3 of them. Over here we have a Vector V12. These are super rare, super unreliable, but very cool looking car. 4 GTs, old and new. Both extremely valuable. Chip Foose design. These are some of the finest lowriders on Earth. Every centimeter of these will be covered in chrome, engraving, and I'm talking underneath and on top. They put mirrors under the cars for shows. Metal flake paint all the way down. It's a Knight Industries 2000 kit actually seen in the TV series. I've got a Honda prototype. One of the cars from Blade Runner. I have no response to that. That's the shooting box.
It's the time machine from The Spy Who Shagged Me.
It's the bus from Little Miss Sunshine. Okay, one of 5 of the buses from Little Miss Sunshine. This thing is massive. A round door Rolls Royce. 1969 Corwin Getaway prototype. This is my dream when I was 3 years old, to own the Speed Racer car. First stock car to break 200 miles an hour. I have seen these online. This is gorgeous. This is an example of modern styling that has all the right cues to retro styling. It is an example of not doing things ridiculously just to make the car look different than it used to look. It looks like an 80s Toyota pickup, but it's all electric. We've had some great art cars at the Petersen lately, and down here in the bowl, not everything is labeled, so I might not be able to remember what they all are. Tesla Roadsters, the originals. If they look like a Lotus Elise, that's because they started out as a Lotus Elise. Another car that started out as a Lotus Elise is a Hennessy Venom, but if you talk to the Hennessy people about that, they'll tell you, no, it's not a Lotus Elise, it's an all-new car. It's a Hennessy Venom. It's a Lotus Elise. I did. Okay, as you can see here, we have a Lotus Elise. I have to admit, it looks so different from a Lotus Elise that I didn't even recognize it. This is a Hennessy Venom. I think this is actually not even based on the Lotus Elise anymore. That at one point in history, these were based on the Lotus Elise. Fine, Hennessy. Yes, you made something different. I'll give it to you. If a museum is worth going to, well then you're probably going to like its gift shop. So I like museum gift shops, but I love the Petersen Museum gift shop. LA has a lot of supercars, and I do not mind that. People here earn their money, most of them earn their money by entertaining people. What I do mind is that Washington, D.C. has even more supercars than Los Angeles does. And those people didn't earn their money, it's just tax money. That was the Petersen Museum. I'm Wasteland Firebird. Thank you for inviting me into your home or onto your portable device. Have a good night. Thanks to Matt Skelly for the camera work. Did you get all that? Because that was related to what we were saying earlier. Oh, you're still filming. This is the blooper section.